G20's release date was actually delayed by 9 days, because there's no way this movie is anything other than an April Fool's joke. Because who in their right mind would spend money making and marketing a movie that takes the idea of a literal kick-ass strong woman straight through the glass ceiling and into the White House? And whoever that person is, their next idea was to take Madam President and drop her right into a Die Hard situation. This time once again featuring white terrorists, but with the Christmas party guests swapped out for feckless world leaders all gathered in South Africa for the G20 summit. Well,
yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Sign me up for that delusional daydream. Spoilers on the agenda. G20 starts by introducing us to Madam President Danielle Sutton, a war hero strong woman who leads the free world
and practice MMA in my spare time.
After the opening scene, chock full of buzzwords about trading Bitcoin on the blockchain through my crypto wallet, we learn that Homelander is this movie's villain and see this AI-generated magazine cover meant to introduce us to our hero, the second Black Captain America of the year.
Prime Minister Everett won't have your back at the G20. He's never liked strong women.
Madam President wants to solve Africa's hunger crisis by giving them all Bitcoin. Then she drops this timely quote that I heard somewhere else recently.
My esteemed Treasury Secretary, Joanna Worth, who will be ready with cost-benefit analysis to help the medicine go down.
And then she takes this agenda to the G20 summit in Cape Town. Madam President gets there and dons the superhero cape this movie was so eager to put on her. At first, it seems as if her biggest enemy is going to be a drunk old white guy from England, but then some Terrys spring a trap and take the world leaders hostage. So cue the Die Hard retread, this time replacing Bruce Willis with a 59-year-old lady president in a dress and tennis shoes, looking like Serena Williams if you just replaced her racket with an M4. She gets off to a bumpy start though, as she tears her meniscus almost immediately. But don't worry, this never comes up again or hampers her in any way. She and her little group move around the hotel with relative ease, all things considered, just picking and choosing which Terrys they take out, with Madam President getting a gun and taking point, instead of her Secret Service agent, of course, which makes all the sense in the world. Meanwhile, the head terrorist, Homelander, is using the world leaders' voices to create AI deepfakes and other buzzwords to upend the world's currency system, and then he starts hawking a shitcoin like everyone else who gets their 15 minutes. But at least this movie is kind of self-aware.
And now you're Captain America?
Holy shit.
You're from Wakanda.
If they're from Wakanda, then you can call her Black Panther. The whole middle portion of the movie is replete with all the unbelievable action sequences you'd expect, and plenty of opportunities to puff up our hero's ego.
I'm not as tall and as confident as you.
And it all culminates in Madam President fist-fighting this monster and overpowering him in hand-to-hand combat, as we reach the pinnacle of absolute delusion. Eventually, she reaches Homelander, and she's here to kick bubblegum and chew ass. Just kidding, she's here to surrender and film her deepfake. Homelander takes the opportunity to reveal that his real motivation is retribution for his war experience, as his war experience, surprisingly, was not a barrel of fun. Go figure. But yeah, that's his driving motivation. War? Not fun, so everyone must pay. Eventually, Homelander takes the president's daughter hostage and tries to make his escape, but he can't go anywhere without his crypto wallet. So the president beats his ass off a cliff and the world is saved. The first family then celebrates their time in Wakanda and the movie ends, except for these gratuitous scenes spliced into the credits celebrating this strong woman. Well, it's always interesting to get a look into the minds of the delusional, and G20 gives us just that. Because it's not enough that a woman is strong and accomplished. She can't just attain the highest office in the world while being calm, rational, strategic, and level-headed, while also being real and down to earth. She also needs to be a decorated war hero, kicking ass and taking names at the age of 59 and capable of superhuman feats of strength. And her foes have to be irrational, selfish, maniacal terrorists, and even her allies have to drag their jaws across the floor, dropped there from the sheer awe they feel in her presence. And of course, her 17-year-old daughter is the smartest person in the White House, and maybe the world, while her son is a useless dope just along for the ride, and her husband fails the only job he had. But annoying as I find that kind of crabs in a bucket, delusional, hero worship portrayal, my biggest problem with this movie is simply a logistical one. There are like 30 terrorists in this hotel, and they keep about 25 of them in this room with the hostages to guard them. Meanwhile, our heroes can pretty much move around the hotel with impunity. There's one point where the president and her squad decide to go get the beast out of the garage, and there's one guard on the whole floor. The Terrys didn't even bother to put just one more guy down there who doesn't have his back turned to the door to, I don't know, keep an eye on the single most formidable vehicle on the continent. And later they show us the terrorist nerd whose job it is to watch all the security monitors, and one of the cameras is showing us the parking garage. It doesn't make sense. It's just not believable how much they were able to evade the bad guys in a 3-story hotel. It's stupid and unbelievable how empty this small hotel feels, and it takes you right out of the movie. As if you needed another reason to be taken out of this shit. Most of the action is just as unbelievable too. I think Madam President doing her Krav Maga at the beginning of the movie was supposed to lay the groundwork for her eventual ass kicking. But only someone delusional enough to come up with this movie's premise in the first place would think that her lazily throwing around her subordinate on the White House lawn explains away her ability to toss this giant around and overpower him. And boy were my instincts correct. The director is completely delusional. At least she's honest, as she just spells it out that this movie is just about featuring a female president in a kick-ass role. But the real delusion is that she thinks this movie will change culture. Yeah. Good luck with that. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe physics are wrong. We'll just have to wait to get our first woman president in the real world and see. Personally, I think this movie is setting a pretty high bar for the first woman in the White House, and I know I'll be holding her to these standards. That's what the filmmaker wants, after all. Right now, G20 is getting a 57% from viewers on Rotten Tomatoes, down a few points in the polls from the last time I checked a few hours ago. And I expect that number will trickle down a bit further as the movie makes the rounds this weekend. Overall, I don't think this movie is any good. It certainly gets a hate watch label, as it swings between aggressively bad to moderately bad, but it's all bad. It's just a lame premise, stretched out into a lame action movie for most of it. That all being said, if they actually put in some effort, G20 could have been much, much worse. So to be fair, all things considered, with this stupid premise and a loony director, and only thanks to their laziness, I think we got off relatively easy with G20 just being the bad, delusional daydream it is. Did you watch G20? Are you hyped as fuck for a woman president now? Do you think Kamala Harris would have screened this in the White House given the chance? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HateWatchers for reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for kicking bubblegum and chewing ass with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.